RSA Conference is the largest cybersecurity conference in the world. It's in San Francisco. This year I was in Paris for my first wedding anniversary, but
heck yeah,
yeah, but
yeah,
I was,
buddy.
yeah, but I was pre-briefed by a number of companies, and so from my perspective, the baton has been handed from the zero trust theme to AI. And I know we're going to talk a lot about AI on this week's podcast, but that was really the central theme. And someone from RSA Security that opened one of the keynotes was sort of speaking about the double-edged sword of AI, and that it can obviously help enterprises bolster their security posture, but at the same time, bad actors can leverage it for new innovative ways to hack and thwart, companies of all sizes. So that was certainly the central theme. From my perspective, there were lots of product announcements, but there was a real emphasis on insight reports. So companies like AT&T and BlackBerry and Zscaler published different reports based on cybersecurity readiness. Zscaler published a pretty, what I thought was a pretty comprehensive report on phishing and leveraging their Zscaler cloud data to buoy that report. But let me talk about BlackBerry for a moment, because I had a chance to be pre-briefed ahead of the conference. And
now, wait a second. Are we talking BlackBerry, the BlackBerry? I'm leading the witness, I recognize, but for all our listeners out there, BlackBerry is very much a security and infrastructure company now, and they don't have any devices. So
no.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how they've been able to pivot and move away from that and still leverage the credibility of that brand and really go into the cybersecurity world with really a full set of solutions. And so I did, as you mentioned, Pat, I did post a Forbes article. There's more detail behind that, so I would encourage our viewers and listeners to read that. But let me talk about one product announcement in particular. So Cisco. They had a couple of announcements at the event. I actually had the opportunity to be briefed by Tom Gillis. He's the new security GM that's returned to Cisco. And he's focused on Cisco delivering a security cloud that provides all the necessary context to provide the best-in-class security. So we talked about Cisco's new XDR, extended detection and response capabilities that were announced at the event, and also Duo. And so Duo is multi-factor authentication. It's a passwordless platform. It's very, very popular. What Cisco announced at RSA Conference was they were taking its very popular trusted endpoints, which is a feature only available at the highest tier. And now Cisco is unbundling that and offering that at all tier levels within the Duo family. So they're delivering added value for their customers. So all in all, I think it's a strong set of announcements and really supports their push with their security cloud.
No, I love it. Just so much stuff going on in security. I mean, we have nation state budgets that, is a big contributor. And essentially, and this has been true forever with hackers, is they go for the highest ROI, right? Which is the more money I can steal, the more pain I can deliver with the least amount of effort. And with things like AI and machine learning and then generative AI, it really is kind of a spy versus spy type of arrangement. And the target changes, right? It used to be that it was people would attack the software layer, and then people started going in and hitting the operating system layer, and then they started hitting the hardware itself, and then they started hitting the BIOS. I mean, it's just, and then once all this stuff gets blocked, and then they start hitting different things. The one thing, though, you can always rely on humans to do is to screw it up. Okay. And that's why phishing is so popular. I mean, we get a phishing attack probably once a week at the company. You got people pretending to be me, either over email, over text. Hey, can you please wire this money to, I need it. Come on, Zane. You're the office manager. It's Pat. Okay. coming from some weird email address. So, and then the trick becomes locking it down in a way that doesn't keep people from doing their jobs. Because right, the conversation used to be perimeter, right? Oh, protect the perimeter. We are gods. That was BS because people got through the perimeter. Then it became, okay, we know people are going to get in. Once they get in, how do we minimize damage? Okay, sorry, how do we get them out? Okay, and then we got to that, but now, there was a lot of stuff that I saw in RSA is, okay, we know you're going to get in. We're going to try awfully hard to keep you out. Once you get in, we're going to find ways to get you out and lock you down. And third way is you stole my data. How do I protect it? How do I get my data back? And how do I get back in operations? Companies like Cohesity with ransomware protection, data recovery, disaster recovery, all those different services are kind of as hot as I've ever seen, right? And there's 4 or 5 vendors that we track, including, Cohesity, folks like Veeam are big in this space. Commvault is obviously a leader in this space.
You know, Pat, there's one other thing to that too, and that's if you read the NISP standards around cybersecurity, very, very prescriptive. But what a lot of folks forget is that upfront and the governance of your kind of security posture, right? And while we talk about, detect, respond, mitigate, detect and respond, mitigate and recover, we forget about that up front. Like, how secure am I? What are my vulnerabilities? There's actually a company up in Boston, CyberSaint, that does a really cool job of kind of going across the enterprise, looking for vulnerabilities, and not only looking for vulnerabilities, looking for adherence to regulations, whether it's NIST or something in the EU, to assure, or even lower level, to assure that your posture is where it needs to be from not just you're secure, but from a compliance perspective. Really interesting stuff. And I think that's a market that's going to open up pretty broadly here in the next year or so.
Yeah, and I'll add just finally, Pat, before we close out, operational technology environments now are sort of the new frontier. And, the whole momentum with private cellular networking, whether it's LTE or 5G, in connecting these uncarpeted areas of the enterprise that have traditionally not been connected. With IoT, that introduces an entirely new threat surface, an expansive threat surface mostly with 5G and cellular, but also narrowband to a lesser extent. So, I mean, these actors are going to continue to find ways to worm their way into these networks to do denial of service, ransomware, and phish.